Well,
I love it.
shall we do our official little welcome to the Publishing Persuasion? Angela?
Yeah. I'll do the intro and then we will go from there. Let me just take a swig first.
Yeah,
and
but
I
just
will be
be
ready.
chill. Nobody feel nervous because I can cut out any crap that we don't like.
No, I was like talking with a friend. I'm like, are we going to get canceled right now? Because with us three together, it could be.
Oh my gosh. Mel and I were just talking about this right before you came on. We're like, okay, this is the internet, the world is scary. So you always have to just be careful because people come for you. And I'm like, and I am not strong enough for that. So
No.
But luckily, I always remind myself we're going into writing, not like acting or singing. So even though we're like putting ourselves on a platform, it's not like physically all the time. So you can just hide in your writer cave if any of that happens.
That's true. But that won't stop like the Twitter mob for like coming for you, though.
The Twitter mobs scare me so much, and it just gets so, it's literally like I picture them with their pitchforks and like fire.
Yes.
Well, that's what they look like. That's for sure. They're just at home with their pitchforks ready.
I like to think though, like if you just approach it with kindness and respect, and if you did do something wrong or say something that offended someone, I'd like to think that if you like backed off and apologized and like that wasn't my intention, whatever, that people would still love you.
I'd like to think that too. I hope in life that there's grace, because everybody makes mistakes, and you got to come at it as I am a human being. I make mistakes. I apologize. However, if you come at it like, well, like I'm staying on this like mountain top, I'm not wrong ever, then people come at you real hard. And I think if you're humble, for the most part, people understand. But yeah, when you're just like, put your feet in the ground and you're like, I am never wrong. This bitch has got it all. Like, then people are like, no, you do not. Like, let me just show you some receipts.
I know. It's scary.
It is. This world is friggin' scary. Okay, so I'm going to introduce us and we're going to get it actually going, even though we've already been going.
I know.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Welcome to episode 3 of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, along with my co-host, the Melanie Schubert. And today we have our very first guest. She is the queen. She is everything. She is a master. Mel and I have just come to listen and learn, and we are so excited to have Jessica Parra here. I'm just going to read this little blurb that kind of pulled from your Pitch Wars IG post and just your Instagram feed. It says, Jessica is Las Musas hermana and Pitch Wars 2020 mentee. She's a lawyer and mother of a small horde of adorable animals. In her free time, you might catch her piloting the Millennium Falcon at Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge. Amazing. Jessica is represented by Jennifer Azantian of Azantian Literary. Did I get the name right? Azantian?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you got it right.
All right.
Yay.
Yes, welcome to the show.
I am so happy to be here, and I am so honored to be the first guest. So yeah, I love you two so much. So thank you. I feel so honored. And that bio, I'm like actually working on like my bio for a website right now. So it's like I'm getting like my website together. So like the Millennium Falcon bit definitely made it in. So I'm actually going back to Disneyland on Tuesday, and I cannot freaking wait. So it's like for you. My sister, like we live pretty close to Disneyland, so it's like we would go all the time, and so we would like literally elbow kids, like in line to like get to the piloting area. So she's like the Han Solo and I'm the Chewbacca. Like because it's like you need 2 co-pilot, like it's 2 people, so it's like I'm so excited. So I'll definitely send you guys pics when I go.
Yeah. I am for it. I am a Disneyland, like I am obsessed. We're going in July. So yeah, tell me all the tips and tricks when you go.
Yes,
because
I will.
it
for
seems
sure.
weird right now. So I'm excited.
Oh,
I'm
I know. I'll
jealous.
let you know how it is.
I have to go
When you
one day.
You do. No, it's like, because I would literally be there like every Wednesday night to like go Pokemon raiding, like before the pandemic happened. But I've had a pass probably like longer than you've been alive, Mel. Like I've had a pass for like over 2 decades. So Disneyland is like my second home.
Oh, I love that. I feel like a lot of people have that connection with it. Like, I don't know if you know author Astrid Schultz, the Four Dead Queens chick.
Oh, yes.
She posts about Disneyland all the time. Like, I think she had her honeymoon there or something. Like, it's like her home. She's just got this connection to it and she loves it. So, but I wanted to say it was only, you just had to be the first guest. It's only right that you were our first guest because it was your idea. You were the one who gave me the inspiration. And like when you first said it, I was just like, no, she's wrong. And I was just like, I just dismissed it immediately, but it was kind of just niggling away at me. I don't even know why you thought it was like, it was one of those magical things that you said to me and it just stuck in my brain like a barnacle, even though I was like, with my anxiety and panic disorder, I'm always like, should I add extra something? But it's just been wonderful. And I just couldn't forget. And when I coerced, when I magicked Angela, tricked her into doing it with me. So
it was like your check-ins, like your Friday check-ins, that it's like I followed them like all throughout Pitch Wars. And like not only is like your voice soothing, but it was like you were like one of really like the only ones that was like really honest with like the highs and lows of Pitch Wars and just like how you were doing. And so it's like I literally like look forward to that. Like even now, it's like usually since it's like, like I'm on like in LA, it's like usually your like check-ins go online like right before my Pilates class. So it's like I'll be in the parking lot, like just like listening. Before like going in, but like they like really like helped me through, like, so it's like just like listening to someone being like so open and but also have like good advice, and then like that I'm like she needs to have a podcast. So it's like I was telling another mentee, Kyla, who I love like so much. I love like so many of the people everyone has.
Our class is amazing.
Yeah, they really are. But I told her I'm like I love like planting seeds. So it's like I love cheerleading. It's something that I've always done. So then like it's like we have a little joke where I'm like, yeah, I want to be like Kris Jenner. She's like, good, I'll be Kim, and I'm like, great. Like, it's like, I want to be like the Kris Jenner for like our class, like encouraging people to like do stuff and do that. So I'm glad that you took my advice because like your guys' chemistry is off the hook and I freaking love the podcast. So yeah, you guys are like getting so many good reviews and stuff. So I'm so
thank you. And you are definitely Kris Jenner, 100%. You are Kris Jenner.
No, I know. Well, it's like it's time for like the glow up though. So it's like this is going to be like my before because the glow up starts next month.
I'm looking at you right now. There is no before. This is just right? You are perfection. Like don't even come at me right now.
No, this is you guys didn't see this like before the pandy because before the pandy I will say I was like feeling myself and then now we're like 14 15 months in and it's just like oh god, yeah. So it's like I have like this gray streak but I'm like rocking it like
you're rocking it. So I love that. I find that very distinguished when people get, my brother-in-law has it and I'm jealous. He's got like this distinguished streak. I'm just like,
no, I love it. So then it's like funny because I'm like, I know, right? So I'm like, fuck the patriarchy, but then I'm gonna do like a bunch of stuff also next month. So I'm like,
but that's for you. That's for you. It's not for anybody else.
That's true.
It's all you.
I feel like the one thing that was left out of your bio, which I think you should put back in for your professional bio, is firebender. So I'm assuming you're a big fan of Avatar, if that's in the Instagram bio.
I freaking love Avatar, but I mean, I'm like a fan of like so many fandoms. Like Disney is obviously like one, but yeah, like I periodically rewatch like the entire series, like every couple of years, and I read it like I did. I love it. It's so freaking good. It's like one of like the properties that is almost perfect. And but like, you know, like the movie is like a totally different story. The live action,
It hurts my soul.
it's so bad. But yeah, I am obsessed with it's like one of the only really chosen one stories that I feel like works for me. You know, and it like, yeah, I just like love so many things about it. I think the first time I watched it, I was like totally team Zuko, but this last time I was team Toph. Like I'm like, I think I'm, you know, like, yeah. So I still think I'm a firebender, but I think Toph is like my favorite character now. In the second rewatch.
Sure, she is good. She's so
I have to admit, I've never seen I've never seen the show. And I'm feeling very upset about it now that I'm realizing, because I hear about it all the time. When the movie came out, I thought that was the first.
That's it. Friendship over.
Oh my God, my heart.
I know. I apologize. I am sorry. I realize my mistake now. I will go back and watch the show. Yeah, I feel like I missed out on some key life elements here.
Mm-hmm.
Now listening to you guys talk about it, and I know people absolutely love it, and I'm gonna have to watch it because the movie.
But did you like the movie or no?
So the movie I just thought was like, oh, this is kind of basic. Like I was just like, oh, this is like a wannabe blockbuster movie, because there was so much hype, and I just thought, oh, like, okay, let's go see this. There's so much hype about it, and I just thought, like, because it was the guy from Slumdog Millionaire was in it, and so I just thought it was because of him. I didn't realize there was like a whole thing about it, and so I just went into it thinking, oh, this is going to be fun, and I just kind of came out of it thinking, okay, you know. So I obviously missed out on like the goods, and you guys have to school me on the goods, because I need to learn. And I know there's like a spin-off, or no? Did I just come up with that? Okay, good. I'm with that. I got that.
Okay, and Netflix is going to try to do another live action, but the creators, like, they bowed out. So I don't know if that's like good, if it's going to be like another hot mess or whatever. I'm still like, you know, holding out hope. I just hope that they don't cast white people for like the, you know, like I mean, there's just like so many things wrong that they did with like the live action.
Yes.
I think just like tonally, it was just like weird too, which is fine. Like sometimes, like, you know, like properties, it's like, and this, I don't know if like we're getting like off of like writing, but like movies and stuff was like my first love. It's like, I originally thought I was going to be a filmmaker, you know, being in LA. I didn't really think writing was ever going to be really possible other than screenwriting. So I actually started in screenwriting, and all of those things. So I'm down for someone making, you know, like a tonal change, but like the movie, I watched like half of it, and then I was like, no, like life is too precious for me to waste more time on this. So I'm just gonna stop. But it's just like weird. It like tries to be serious, but it also wants like the viewer to like bring in so much of their own knowledge, you know, from like the anime. So it's like, that doesn't work. It's like, you can't, it's like weird. And it just like, so many of like, sometimes I feel like I've learned a lot about writing from like reading or watching bad things as much as like good things. And like this one, I was just like in the beginning, it's like, we immediately get into like a key element of like Aang's backstory, but it's like, I don't care because I've spent 3 minutes with him. So, you know, just like in opening chapters, it's like, we need a little setup with the characters so we could care about them when like their world comes crashing down in like the inciting incident. You know what I mean? And like it like banked too much on you having knowledge of like the anime to know, you know, already love him and come loving these characters, without really forging that connection in the movie, which they're supposed to do as well.
Totally. But I feel like it relates directly back to writing, because that's because I rewatched a little bit before this, and I kept thinking, that what they're doing essentially is telling. It was a whole bunch of exposition.
Yes.
When I watched it back, I was like, and even my husband kept shouting at the screen. He's like, just show us, just give her that little look. Don't tell us, like, I've forged a connection with you, Princess Yue.
Exactly. And not only that, but then it's like, but then they do so much telling also in voiceover. So it's like they do it in voiceover, and then they do it with the characters like as well. So it was just like so bad.
It was so
true.
bad.
And then you just sort of like blank out because you're not really paying attention. You're just like hearing this person blabber on, and you're just like, get to the goods already.
Exactly. Like I didn't care about any of the characters because they didn't, you know, set up like anything with like the characters. So it's like, why do I don't care.
The only redeeming thing I will say is Uncle Iroh was a total fox, in my opinion. I would still totally jump his bones.
Yes.
Anime version and live action.
Yes.
I felt like he redeemed it, his presence. Well, you can't redeem that. But I just felt like I looked forward to him being on screen. Even though he was an adaptation, I felt like he adapted better than the rest of them.
Me too, but no, it was just it was bad. Really bad. Really, 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 really bad.
We'll have to cleanse our souls with something better than that.
Yes. Oh,
well, it sucks because so many adaptations from books to film are garbage, and it's so sad. Or just like your favorite show, like they just can't get it right, and it's so disappointing. And I think now that, you know, from a writer's standpoint, it's so dead on. And what you said, Jessica, too, like it made me think back of when you read my book and you had some critiques about the opening chapter, and I was like, oh my God, like that's exactly what you just said. Like a lot of the stuff was just me explaining and not like getting right into the goods, or like you hop right into the goods and you don't set up the characters, so no one gives a shit like if someone dies, because you're like, and who is this person? So it's so true, like watching these amazing shows or and movies and all of these and reading books, like that's when you can learn the most what works and what doesn't work.
Well, and one of the things too, I think, is like you need to, and this is, I like learned this over like a while. It's like you have to trust your readers. It's like, or viewers. It's like people aren't dumb. So it's like, give them credit. So I think it's, you know, it's like in my book, for example, like one of the earlier versions, like I had like a key moment of backstory in chapter 2. And now it's like in one of the later chapters on like in the last chapter, since both of you guys like have read my book, like the suit scene with like Ruby, like in freshman year, where she like, you know, whatever, like a key element, like I had it like at jump. And again, it's like no one cared because we needed to like develop time with her now before seeing, you know, that like element of like her story. And so I think people now too, it's like you could parse out like the world, especially like in fantasy too, or just like show us. You don't have to tell us like the rules, like just show us, you know, some of like the world. Like I'm thinking especially like in like Game of Thrones, which is like, that's like a whole nother like issue. It like ended so badly, but like the first ones, it's like we really didn't know hardly anything, you know. It's like we learned as like the characters were going through the world. So I think even in contemporary or in like a fantasy setting, like writing wise, you can like parse out those things like little by little to keep the momentum of the story going. Because I think in like the opening chapters, like plot is really important too, or else people are just gonna like, you know, if it's just like too much exposition or too much like backstory, it's like people are going to get bored. And like now we're competing with like Netflix and like all these things. So it's like, yeah, those like opening chapters have to be like poppin', you know, for like a reader to stay like invested in them.
Yeah, I think it's so important, all that research. And the other thing I do, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure, is I troll Goodreads bad reviews. And somehow I find that gives me a lot of information about what really pissed readers off.
That's a good tip.
I do it all the time. Like, if there was like a hot book that people were that was very polarizing, I'll like go look at the 5-star and then the 1-star reviews. And I find that those 1-star reviews are very telling. You start to piece together what not to do.
I need to start doing that.
It's so good. I get addicted. I also get terrified, but it's somehow also liberating because I feel like by the time I have a book and the bad reviews come in, I'll just expect a few. I'll expect this is so sappy and unrealistic or something, you know?
I love sappy and unrealistic. Like,
that's literally my writer goals.
Me too. I'm all about like the happily ever after. I feel like, well, for me,
Right.
like writing too is like, I want to escape from like the crap. So it's like, even though like in my books, like I want to still have like a theme and like, you know, something that I'm saying about the world or whatever. It's like, I do it like with the veneer of like sweetness. So it's like, and that fluff, like I love that. So it's like, I told someone like I want to, and it's like I want to write like a lot of things, but like I want to like write books like those like gummy vitamins where it's like they're like sweet, but it's also something good for you. So that is like for my contemporary stuff that I want to do. I think that's like the mantra or motto that I want to adopt, like to always have that in the back of, you know, my head when I'm writing. Because since you guys have read it, it's like you know, it's like super beachy. It's like a summer read, but like also there's like some heavy stuff going on. And I think that sometimes that makes it like, you know, like easier to get into those topics. And I mean, you know, it's like that's just me. It's like, I also love like books that are much darker and I do want to like write those as well. But yeah, like for now, I think that's like the type of books that I want to read where like on the surface, you think it's like, and it's like fluffy, but there is something there as well.
Yeah, it hits you at the end where you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's like a deeper message here. And she's going through some things. And I love that. And I love the analogy of a gummy, like a vitamin gummy, because that's my jam. I be eating those. I just popped some today. So I'm with it. I will take them in. So what like got you started writing in the first place? I mean, have you been doing it forever? Like it just came out the womb writing?
No, it's so weird. Again, because like, you know, I live in LA, like I never really, and I'm like an old, so it's like you know, this was like before like, you know, streaming services and like all of that stuff. So I am the oldest of like all of my cousins. So I would like always put on like plays and like, you know, doing things, but I was always like into like anything creative. So like art, like I would make, you know, like little short movies and stuff and do like everything from like the art direction. And again, since you guys like know this, like I could be like pretty intense. So I would do like everything from costumes, makeups, like everything. So just like story, I guess, is like what I was obsessed with. But like writing, like, yeah, it's like, I was more of a reader. I never thought I could be a writer. And, but even like in school and even in law school and stuff with like writing classes, because like in law school, it's like, essentially when you're a lawyer, it's like you have to, it's like you're telling a story and you want like either a judge or a jury to like buy your version of like, you know, your version of the story opposed to like opposing counsel. And in law school, it's like they would teach us, it's like we had to be able to do both sides. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm like, I started getting good at character, you know, character motivation, because I had to train to, you know, like look at every single side and try to win from like every single side, you know, whatever facts I was given or whatever. And during law school, this is like, again, like aging myself, but like a lot of the series that I loved that like now it's like I can't even like get through like Twilight or whatever, they like ended. And so there was like, I was like, okay, like what am I going to read? And again, like I was not seeing like anything really like where I could see myself reflected in like books, you know. And even like before, it's like when I would like write stuff, like it's like looking back at like really old stuff that maybe I was always a writer because I was always writing like little screenplays or whatever. It was like one of the earliest screenplays I wrote was like biker chicks in like Zombie Town. I think I was like 12 and I'm like, why am I writing about British like biker chicks? Like I'm not British and, you know, whatever, but it was just everything that I was seeing. You know, it wasn't until like recently where there was like a boom of like, I think, you know, we need diverse books like really help push things. And so like I would see, you know, myself reflected in like Spanish media, but not really in like American stuff. And if I did, it was like really negative, you know, stereotypes or like a background character or whatever. So then I was like, okay, like I want to start changing like the narrative, on that, just in my own little stories, but never thought like at first it started like for fun. And it wasn't really until like 2 years before Pitch Wars that I was like serious about it. Like, or it's like I wanted to do it like for actual publication. Like it was still sort of like for fun or like whatever. But since I started in like screenplays, it's like I like would enter in like contests, and like the first one that like we did, it's like, and the screenplays, it's like I write those with my sister. So it's like like the first screenplay like ever, it's like we made it to like the quarterfinals of like final drafts, like big break. And
Wow.
since I'm like in LA, it's like I do have friends that are agents, and I actually, like originally wanted to be like a film agent. So I would like send it to like agents, and they're like, damn, this is like good. But at that time too, there was like so many zombie things. And I reread it and I was like, oh, this is a hot mess. Like, I'm glad it like went nowhere, now. But so I was like, okay, whatever, like, let's write another one. We wrote like another one like in a month, and then we like made it to like the finals. So it was like, okay, like, there's like something here. And every time like we did something, it's like we would progress to like the next level, but like still not, win anything. So then I'm like, okay, I need to like study up on craft. And so we like wanted to take a class at UCLA Extension, and there was like nothing that worked schedule wise for screenwriting, but there was a novel class that was open. And so then I was like, okay, writing is writing, whatever, like, let me do that. And then like that first class, it's like we had to do a writing exercise, and then like this story started like coming out. Like it was, before that I was only writing like genre, really bad fantasy that was like so derivative of like all of like the things, and then like horror screenplays, which I love horror. That's like probably my favorite genre. And I do want to get back into that. But I was like, where is this like contemporary, like romance, like YA coming from? Like it just like started coming out. And yeah, and so that's where like that happened. Like it just like started coming out. And again, like I was like, okay, like for I think like about a year, it's like with some of the people that I met through that class at UCLA Extension, it's like I learned how to like give critique, take critique, and like really start learning craft. And then when I think it was like when I felt like comfortable enough where I was like, okay, like this is like, I could maybe do something with this, but let me start learning about like the business of it, of publishing, because that's like another thing that like people, don't really realize. It's like you need to like learn craft for like writing, but then it's a business. So if you want to be traditionally published, it's like you have to do then like another like mini like bachelor's, program on like learning the industry and like learning how to query, learning like all of these things. So I think I took like about like, while I was like, leveling up writing and all of that, I like listened to every single industry podcast, was like reading all these things, and I'm not on Twitter. So it's like, I, had to do a lot of this just like, like I did not want to go on Twitter and like learn about this. It probably would have been easier. It probably would have been easier, but I was like, okay, so then I like really learned about like the industry, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want. Like, I don't want to write just for fun anymore. Like I want to have like books published. And then, I got into Las Musas. It was like,
tell me about that. I don't really know about that.
Okay. So it's a collective of Latinx, writers, children's writers. And so it's like, it's just like, basically everyone's like boosting each other. So it's like, they have several programs that they do. So they have a podcast, but they also have a mentorship program that like pairs like, like a beginning writer with an author. And this is really like, okay, we're going into like a deep cut. Like, while I was doing like my little research on like the industry, I was listening to Ride or Die. And this was when like Clarabelle was just like doing the podcast solo. And I got on the episode with Nina Moreno. Like her book Don't Date Rosa Santos wasn't even like out yet. And so it's like Nina is like around my age. She's like also like Cuban American, and she was like obsessed with Dawson's Creek. Like everything on the podcast that she was like in her interview, I'm like, oh my God, like I want to be friends with this person so badly. Like, and so I like immediately pre-ordered her book. And then that summer, it's like Las Musas like announced, and she was in that. So it's like, I, you know, started like, yeah. And then, so then like that summer they opened up their first class of mentorships. And you couldn't even pick, like, they didn't even say who was in it, like who was like the mentors or anything. So I had just finished like my first draft of, Just Add Me. And yeah, because like we could go for like hours about my journey with this like manuscript. And so I submitted, and then like 2 months later, it's like I get an email from her like saying, yeah, like I want like, you know, like a little interview sort of. And we did that. And then she emailed me like a couple days later, and she's like, yeah, like I want to mentor you. So it's like with Nina, I learned how it's like, oh God, looking back at that like a manuscript, it's like, it was such a hot mess. But like, you know, some elements of like the story that you guys like read were in there. And
I
so
can't
she really,
even imagine that being a hot mess. It's in my eyes, your book is so perfect. I can't picture it not like every word. And obviously being a writer myself, I know, like, what do they say? Easy reading is damn hard writing. So I know, but it's just, as I read it, it's just so perfect. I can't imagine it being a mess, if that makes sense.
It was a hot mess. I'll show you. Like one of the
we need proof.
We need proof.
I'll show you. It was so, okay. Like my like issue was like pacing. Like I sucked at like pacing, and I feel like I didn't have enough tension. Like I really wasn't leaning in on that draft. I don't know if it was like me or like what it was, but I was like maybe too afraid to lean into the issues that could be touchy, you know? And I didn't realize even with her, like what I was really writing about, like it wasn't. And then, so with that, it's like, and also again, it's like, this is another thing that I would like tell writers is when you get lucky enough to do like a mentorship program, like I think you like to make it really work, you need to do two, because like with like the first mentorship, it's like, it's like sort of like an intro, like really to like critique feedback. And I didn't know at that point, I was like so starstruck by Nina because it, you know, and I like loved her so much that I didn't know really what I wanted out of that mentorship and like the areas that I really wanted her to help me with. And since I did and I was also sort of like scared, like, oh, hopefully she doesn't notice what a hot mess it is, you know? So I didn't tell her, hey, like I need help with X, Y, and Z, right? And so it's like it got like a lot better, but then like a lot of those issues were still there. Like it wasn't until like really this round of revisions with like my agent that like I really understood filtering. Like it's like with Nina, she told me, she's like, girl, like the filtering is like slowing down the pacing like so much. And I didn't really understood what that meant with her, you know? And it's like a lot of things happened. I ended up, because I do have like a chronic illness, so I ended up getting sick. And so it's like like I didn't get like the full, like, you know, it was, like, I love her. Like, it's like, we still talk like every day, and she's like, I love her so much. But again, it's like, I didn't know what I needed from like that mentorship. And again, like a lot of the things that she was saying, she was already speaking like professional, like having gone through like the editorial process. Whereas like, I didn't really know how to like apply those, you know, what she was like saying, or I couldn't really understood it. And with Hoda though, so now I like knew. And so with Hoda, like with like, and okay, like really quickly. So I queried that, and it was not ready to be queried, and I knew that in my gut. And I even like told like Nina, I'm like, yeah, I think I need to do like another round of like revisions, but like, the other people were like out there querying, getting like agented within like weeks, multiple offers. And I sort of like, I did not keep my eyes on my own prize. And I was like, I need to keep up with everybody else. And so I went out there, queried, and like, I think I got like 80 or 90% like full requests within like that week that I queried, but then it was like all form rejections, you know, like, so then I was like, okay, like this sucks. And also then the pandemic happened. So I just like put it like aside. And I was like, okay, like this is like over, like I'm just gonna work on like the next thing. Like I don't even know like how to make it better, because again, that's another thing that I learned is like you need to let it rest. Like when you're so into it, you can't, and you go back to try to revise, like you can't, like you can't see with the fresh eyes, and you're still too emotionally attached to the project to like see objectively. So then the pandemic happened, because I think I like literally queried like a week before the shutdown, so then it's like as I was like getting like all these rejections, I was like, nah, fuck this, like I'm just gonna play Animal Crossing for like 8 hours a day. And
That's a fair choice.
I did that, and I'm also in like an active member of like my Skibwe like regional like chapter or whatever, Skibwe SoCal. They're like freaking awesome. And so it's like they have like a like a little retreat every summer, so I like did that and then entered like a couple, I think it's like the first 2 chapters of like work in progress. And then the agent, like there was like, yeah, you could like sort of win like a little talk with an agent, so I won that. And she's like, yeah, like, is this book like ready? Like, I'm like, no, like this is only like the first chapter. She's like, well, do you have anything else? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but like it sucks, so let me like revise for like 2 months or something, and then I'll like send it to you. And so I hadn't like looked at it for I think 4 months, and when I went back I was like, oh god, these like issues, like I fixed a lot of the issues that Nina told me to fix, but like a lot of them, like I was finally able to see it with fresh eyes. And so then I revised again, and I was like pretty happy with it, but again I was like, I need more help on this, and I finished those revisions like right when the Pitch Wars like window like opened up again. And I did send out a few queries like again, because if I was going to send it to like one of the agents that like had requested it at that retreat, like my best friend, she's like, you might as well like query again, do like another round, if you're going to do that. So I did. And I'm like, okay, and if these people do not respond by Pitch Wars, I'm like entering. And like it was like nothing, like I honestly don't even know how I knew about it, since I'm not on Twitter, like I don't know how I found out. And so I did, and yeah, and then so it's like and again, so this is like for the Pitch Wars, like hopefuls, like this year, it's like comb the freaking wish lists. And be honest with yourself, because on those wish lists, like they tell you, like, these are the things like I'm willing to do with you. And again, like I knew I could do like big developmental stuff like on my own, but it was like those like freaking like sentence level issues and like my filtering and like, so much exposition. Hold on, I'm gonna like plug this in really quick. I can't believe it, but so it's like when I was looking for that, like I needed someone that was going to do line edits with me, and someone that was going to explain all this stuff. So there was a lot of people that I wanted to submit to, because it's like I'm fans of them, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be like friends with these people. And then I was like, no, like, so Hoda, she's like, I will do like 2 revisions with you, like we will get like deep, and it's like the work is going to be hard. And I was like, this is like exactly what I need. And yeah, it was freaking awesome. Okay, hold on. I need to plug this
in. We don't want you.
Plug it in. Plug it in. Yeah. You good?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah.
I feel like listening to all of that, it's incredible. And I think like for our listeners, especially like the early ones, because I know young Mel would have been thinking this, that whole journey that your book has taken, I feel like some of the reason people get crushed early on is because they don't anticipate how hard it's going to be, and how much of like traditional publishing is not just like some lucky random ticket. Like this is a job, this is a profession, and the amount of work and effort you have to put in, I feel like that's something I want to keep coming back to in our podcast, because I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions that people are just gifted and they get their giftedness gets recognized by the powers that be, and then they have a raging successful career in publishing. And it's a load of crap, because yes, there's usually a bud of talent there, but that has to be watered and nurtured and like worked so fucking hard on. Like just listening to you, I was just like, man, like if young Mel knew that, she would have just been like, strap on and like get ready, because, you know, and it helps you avoid those early doubts. Because and I literally say to people now when they ask about my writing, I'm like, well, I don't expect to be getting paid right now, because essentially I'm a student, and
Yes.
you wouldn't expect to be paid to study. And so when people expect to, like, it does happen, it is unpredictable. Some people, their first book they write, and that's awesome. But a lot of times it's like you're saying, like, your book has been on this incredible journey, and like people will pick that off the shelf and be like, oh, she's so talented, my God. But like, yeah, and you are, but you have sweat, you have bled into this book, and you've learned your industry, and it deserves to be on a shelf. Simple as that.
And it wasn't even just me. It was like, it took a freaking village, you know, to get here. So it's like, that is like another misconception too, that it's like a lot of the work you do it alone, but I did not level up until I was like in a critique group that it's like, we met monthly, you know, and this was like when I was just like writing for fun. And I didn't really level up like my own writing until I started like leveling up like my critique of like other people's writing. And even then it's like, it took, you know, Las Musas and Pitch Wars. Like, it's hard. There's like a lot of, you know, and it's like when people say there's like competition, it's like, I don't really look at it as like I'm only competing against myself. Like, I know that sounds cheesy, but it's like someone that's going to buy what I write is only going to buy like the weird stuff that, like, you know, the shit that I'm like, God, I won't like swear anymore, but like the stuff that I'm into.
No, we're
like
welcome.
Okay, good. Because it's like super specific, you know? So it's like, you guys, it's like, we're never going to, even if like you give us like the same prompt, we're not going to write the same things. But like, so it's like when people say, oh, other writers are a competition, I think that's BS. I really think it's about community. Like, I think you are not going to make it like, yeah, like if you don't have a community like boosting you and like learning from, you know, whether you're learning from someone or you're helping someone. So I think that like writers need to know that also, like if they want to be traditionally published, like you're not going to, like the myth of like the like writer at home with like a glass of like whiskey, it's like, that's not going to get you like anywhere, you know? It's like, you need to like learn from people. Yeah. And there's like people out there like, you know, like Pitch Wars and Las Musas. And like, I think that's one of the things, it's like, find your community. Because even when I was like querying the first time, it's like, not only was my book still a hot mess, but I was like only querying like the flashy agents. Like, and again, it was like the same thing. It's like, I wasn't being really specific with like who I chose. And so like the second time around, like after Pitch Wars, I was very, very selective in who I chose to query. Again, it wasn't just like people who like, you know, get like the huge deals, but it was like people that were specifically asking for something that I had and things that I want to write like in the future. And so that like, again, like made all the difference. Like, in that time around, it's like, again, I got like full requests, but then like this time I also ended up getting, you know, like offers. So that's like one of the things too, that like I want people to know, because a lot of times it's like people I think don't know when to keep going and don't know when to start working on other things. So it's like, for me, it's like you know, every time like I did something with this book, I kept on getting a little further up the chain. And so that for me was like the sign, okay, like I could give it another go. Yeah. You know, but then I've also seen people spend 10 years on something, and like those 10 years, it's like they're static, like they're not, you know, like moving up the rung. So in that case, it's like, I do think that maybe it's like time to move on and like try to work on something else. Because I think also there is something as like overworking something, you know, and I've seen that in some of the people that I've like, because I like love doing critiques. And so in some of the stuff that I've seen, I'm like, yeah, like you're now making it worse. Like that's also a danger.
Yeah, you know? Totally. That's when I know to
burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You burn out too. If you keep fighting and fighting for this just one manuscript that you have, you're going to burn out and you're not going to want to write more, because you're just like, you know what, fuck this shit. This is too hard. I'm going nowhere. And you just want to give up. And I think that is so important, is when to know when it's time to lay it down, let it rest, or start something new. And I think burnout is such a huge thing that we all kind of go through. And I know I felt it after Pitch Wars. Like I was just like, I was a mess.
Oh, I have a picture.
Yeah, the burnout picture.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so hard because you go so hard, you put all your energy, just everything, it's nonstop thinking about it, and then you crash. And that crash can be so hard to come out of, even if amazing things are happening around you, even if, you know, you're getting an agent or your friends are, it's so hard to like pull yourself out of this, like this muck of just like, I am so exhausted. And like my first book I wrote, I was going nowhere with it. And I burnt out for a few months where I was like, can't do it anymore. And eventually I pulled myself out, but it's so hard when you work so hard for something and then you're just like, life sucks right now. Like I am done.
Like,
and
did you guys even
that is like,
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say part of like pulling yourself out is your community and like having someone just checking in on you like, hey, how are you today? And you're like, I'm great. No, but you know, it's like, it's just having that community. That's me.
It's true. Like, did you guys even celebrate finishing your Pitch Wars experience? Because like I didn't. I just like was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like time to query. Like I started querying at like midnight that night.
Oh, 100%. I was like, let's go. And we're in California. So like we could do it. Like we were up. I know. Yeah. I know you were up. So I was like I had my emails. I'm like, go. And I'm just typing it. And no, I did not celebrate a damn thing. I just broke down. I broke down, but I didn't celebrate.
Me neither. So it's like the same thing. It's like I started like querying, I think like even a minute before, because I have no freaking chill, you know, and I stayed up until like 2:30, like 3 a.m. sending out like all the queries, and then was like a zombie the next day, you know, and so didn't want to do like anything and was like so tired. And then the same thing, even when like I got agented, I was like too tired, like let's, you know, it's like, you know, my sister, my partner, they're like, oh, yeah, like let's like celebrate. It's like, I'm like I'm like always too tired, like, you know, I think that's like one of the things that like I need to like learn how to do and like maybe give myself like more grace for that, because even like now I feel like super burnt out, you know. And again, it's like working with, so it's like I was like thinking about it, and it's like I've done like hardcore revision. So I did like the 2 months in like this 2.5 months in the summer, and then like the 3 months for Pitch Wars. And then it's like I just did like an intense, again, like 2.5 weeks of like doing like the last hopefully revisions before we go out on submission with it. And it was like 7-8 hour days, you know, like so again, it's like I have no chill. Like I need to learn how to have chill and have like a more like balanced because I think also like this is like something that like I didn't even realize until like now, but like I don't know, like I just feel like, oh, like I'm like running out of time or something. Like I need to like get it in, because I'm like, okay, yeah, like if it took me this long to write like this book, then it's like, you know, like in like, I need to like hurry, but it's like, no, I don't. Like
it's so funny that I think we all must feel that to some level. I definitely feel that in some. It's like you feel like you just want to make the most of life and you're like, time's ticking. And you just feel this like acute sense of like, I must get a book on the shelf now. But the universe doesn't go by our time. That's what I'm realizing. I feel like this whole journey is just like learning to be patient, which I don't think I've learned at all. But it's a forced lesson in patience and humility.
And giving like let go of control. It's like I was thinking about that last night too, that like maybe this is like the universe's way of like trying to teach me these like lessons, because again too, it's like for me, I'm like a control freak, and with publishing we have like no freaking control. Like, you know, we have control of like the quality of work, but like as far as everything else that could happen, it's like completely out of our hands. So I think that that's like one of the things that it's like, I think we're all gonna learn, you know, as we're like on sub or in the trenches or whatever, that it's like, we can't control what people are looking for, you know, what they're buying, and all of like the other like nitty gritties of like, yeah, like the little things like that.
And ironically enough, like in the moment, like the longer I do it, the more I can reflect that way. In the moment though, you feel like this is it, it's over, it's not happening now. And like it can be really overwhelming to think that, like, especially with early rejections, like we've talked about this before, but I think we always need to come back to it. Those early rejections are just like, oh, maybe I'm not meant to be doing this. But it's just like literally part of the process. And I feel like I'm getting better at them now. Now I'm like becoming like sick about it. When I get a rejection, I'm like, oh yeah. The agents were communicating with me.
Yes.
She spoke to me. Well, and I think that's probably why, Jessica, and I love like your Friday check-ins, because you are like a breath of fresh air. Like it's just like a, because so many times, and I feel it like in my bones where I'm just like, oh, I gotta, like, I'm starting a new project and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm blocking myself because I'm so focused on moving forward that I can't even move forward. Cause I'm like looking at my word count and I'm like, oh my God, I'm only at like 10,000 words. I want to get to 80. How am I ever going to do this? And I just like self-sabotaging. And I felt like I failed during my querying process because I was such a mess where I was constantly checking my email. I was just like a frazzled mess of nerves. Like anytime my email would go off, of course it was spam, and I would just be like, oh, this is the worst. And like I felt like after I got my agent and all that stuff, I was like, oh wow, like you were a hot mess. Like you really could not, there was nothing, all the worrying I did not help at all. It did not make the agents come to me faster. It did not make the universe want to help me more. If anything, the universe was probably being like, listen, bitch, you need to chill.
Yes.
Your ass needs to learn. And I feel like it's so hard to get that way. And I love just Melanie's whole vibe, because she's just like, oh no, I'm good. Like,
to be
I'm
fair,
just moving forward.
You know what the thing is? Like, I definitely have those moments. Like, and let's just say I just got my period. My hormones are everywhere. At
oh, me too. Yay.
Oh, bitch, me too. Me too, bitch.
At like 3 a.m. in the morning, I like woke up and was crying to my husband about the state of the universe. So I totally I was like, this and this. I don't even know where I was going with it. But so I definitely have those moments. And to be honest, when I was younger, I was quite prone to depression. But I guess, well, the trade-off for getting rid of depression was anxiety. But I'm just like, I just reached a point where I was like, I can sit here and just continue to cry about it or just move on. And it's like, it's kind of that fake it till you make it saying, you know what I mean? Like, I don't always feel happy straight away when I'm saying that shit.
Yeah.
But you know, at some point you just realize that life's too short and it's just more fun to bring the good energy. Anyone can bring negative, toxic energy with them to stuff. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what I've sought out. And that's what I found in you guys. Like, just that kind of positive cheerleader energy where I'm like, I know these people are going to be just as excited for my book to hit the shelves one day. And that's so precious, you know? And yeah, that's why I'm all here for bringing the positive energy.
No, I love it.
I love
it.
I'll just climb off my soapbox now.
No, but we all need it, because this whole writing life, the road to publication, like, it is a bitch. It is hard. And there's so many amazing like ups, when you finish that book, when you write an amazing chapter, like when you get on Pitch Wars, an agent, get a book. There's so many amazing highs, but there's so much lows and valleys. And I think without having friends to pick you up and to just keep you going, like it's hard to climb to get to those highs because they're hard. Like they don't come easy, you know? And I think like a lot of times we'll look at books on the shelf and like we read Jessica's book and we're like, this bitch just wrote a perfect book. Like, how did this happen? But now like hearing your story, like you worked your ass off for that book. Like, it's not just this simple thing. Like, no, I just wrote this amazing book in one draft. Like, look at me. No, like there was a lot.
It's a lot. And then like before that, it was like all those crappy screenplays, you know, and like the crappy fan fiction and like derivative stuff. So I think I spent almost like 10 years at, like creatively like writing, but it wasn't like the last, like I would say like maybe like 2-3 years where I was like, okay, like maybe I could write books. Because like books, I was always sort of intimidated. Like in LA, people always say like screenplays are checkers and books are chess. And I like, played chess like once on like the computer and like I was like, no, like I was intimidated, you know, just with that. So yeah, like I think with a lot of people, they think, oh, like an overnight success, but you know, it's like work. Or even like some of the people that have sold their books already in our class, it's like, yeah, I know people are going to say that, you know, like some of these people are like super young and everything, but I've seen, you know, just in this, how much all of us have worked. So there is no such thing as like the overnight success. Like that's like a myth that like people need to stop like perpetuating, because it's like, no, it takes a lot of work. Like, it's like, I did keep, so it's like, I'm going to have to like post later, like I have like a bag of like all of my drafts of like this book. It's like, you know, one of those like reusable like shopping bags, and it's filled with that. And those are just like some of the drafts like in there, because it was a hot mess. So I'm gonna have to find some like early chapters and like show you guys. It's like what remains of my book of like what I started, and now is just like the essence. I think my main character always like stayed, like my characters, like I think characters are like one of my strengths. So they stayed pretty same, but like everything else around them like changed. And that took years.
It's exciting. I think
It
as
is.
much as people might be overwhelmed by the workload that goes into it, I find it very liberating, because there is a process to get traditionally published. And yes, there is a bit of luck and, you know, like what's going at the moment. But I think it's like, yeah, liberating to know that there is stuff you can do if that's the path you want to take, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think that it does get a little bit easier in some ways. Like even with like you guys, like, are you finding it like with your works in progress now that it's like getting easier in some ways?
Totally.
Yeah, I feel like each time, because you kind of start to understand the process a little bit. And for me, it's like how my process works. Like my very first book, I just pantsed the shit out of it, and it was just a wonky ass mess. And so each time I just learn what works best for me. And I think this will be my third book, but like even now I'm still learning. But like things like Save the Cat and the formulas work, and they really do help you, you know, kind of keep going. And every single time, I think like each book, you're just learning. You're learning, you're working on your voice, your characters, your motivation, your arcs. Like I think you can only get better, hopefully, every time you write something new. And, you know, and I think you got to give yourself grace to just understand, like, I'm working, like I'm learning, like I'm in the university of life right now with my book. Like each new book is a new class I'm in, like, you know, and you really learn. And I think for me, that's been like the most fun, is like seeing how I've progressed. And I might be a slow progressor. But it's so fun, you know. I think it's just fun to see how you can develop and just letting yourself be in the moment and be okay with, oh, this didn't work, you know. Like this last draft, I outlined everything, but then as I started writing, I was like, nope, like none of this is going to make sense. And so I had to go back, and that's where I'm at now, is like go back to the basics of like what my world building is and what the world is that I'm working on. And I think when you let it sit, when you let your brain, because I've just taken a break from writing for this last week or so. And, mentally, physically, I just needed a break from just everything. But letting it sit and not really like trying to force it on yourself, it's so freeing, and it just comes like randomly. And it's, usually in the shower. But when you're finally relaxed and not forcing it, it's like, here it is. Thank you, writing, God,
And I feel like beyond the actual like learning the craft and all those little elements that we learn along the way, I think the thing that I'm getting better at implementing mentally is just like when I reach the points that would usually make me question the story or question things, you start to realize it's just normal. It's like a normal part of the process. Or like if you wrote a completely rubbish chapter and you're like, oh, am I, like young Mel would be like, am I a bad writer? I don't know where to go next. And I would psych myself out and stop writing for a little while, whatever, a day, a month, a week, because you'd freak out that this was so bad. Or you'd write something really good and you'd freak out the next chapter can't possibly be as good. Whereas I think now I'm kind of just like, every time I start to freak out, I'm like, no, you've already freaked about this enough times. You don't need to freak out about it this time, because you know that you're not going to forget how to write. It's usually that. It's usually like, what if I can't top the last chapter? But
that's good.
I freaked out.
Sorry, I just cut you off.
No. It's like after pictures, like my sister, she's like, oh, okay, like now you have to do it, like, and now you get to do it all over again. And I literally had like a panic attack. Like I was like, oh shit. Yeah, we're gonna have to do it again. But I do think it's like, I want to get faster. It's like I'm such a perfectionist that I like revise as I go. So it's like with this new one, I'm going to try not to do that as much, because it takes me forever. Because I like freak out. But yeah, like I think that's one of the things that I struggled with, like, and even told like my mentor, I'm like, is this like, what if this is a fluke? So that's like, I think, but I think all writers must like feel that, like, and even with like the story that I'm like weirdly working on too, there was like another story in like a completely different age category that I'm like working on that like I freaking love. It's about this little girl right here. This is like, my little girl, Arwen, my little soulmate. So I'm like writing a picture book. Like today I like emailed like my agent, like she knows like my novel that I'm working on, but like I'm like, yeah, when we talk, there might be like something else that like I want to do too. So it's like something that just like, again, because like my mind was in some of the downtime, like, a completely different story came. So yeah, it's like, it's been really cool to do that. But yeah, we need, I think, to just like have more grace with ourselves and just like try to like have fun this summer too. Like I want to like be able to do fun things to then like be able to like write about something. Because I think when we get too into, like our like hustle mode and this and that, it's like we're not even like living life. So it's like, what are we gonna even like write about? Or like even like the other day I took like a walk and I was like, I like saw like something, like in my neighbor's yard, and I'm like, oh, that's like what I was looking for. Like I wasn't even going outside to do anything. I was just like, we've, been inside because of like the pandemic, and then like been, inside revising and trying to do all these things with like our books that like we're not, well, for me, I wasn't really like living actual life outside of like working.
Damn, you just hit me hard on that one. Like, yep, that's the truth though. Like you spend, like, you're right. Like I wake up in the morning, I'm like forcing myself, like, let's write, let's go, and then go to work. And then I get back and I'm doing all these things, but like, what are you doing for yourself? And what are you doing to live? And I'm just like, damn, you just got me right now, because I'm just like, I don't feel like I have been like living lately. And and I think a lot of it is like putting the pressure on yourself to like get it done, to get this book done, but really like you're not what's the proper word? Like you're not giving yourself, like you're not feeling your well.
present, maybe.
And so you, yeah.
At all.
And you're just like, you're not doing what you need to do to be able to fill your well so you can let it out again.
Yeah.
And okay, thank you.
No, yeah, we need to
You got
refill the
me
well
on that.
because the crappy Avatar remakes are like not going to refill my well. Like it's like anything on like a Netflix, I'm like over it. Like it's like I can't. Like it's like, you know, like my partner, he's like obsessed with like The Witcher. And I'm like, these costs, this wig, like this weave, like I can't take it seriously. Like it was like, I'm probably gonna get like haters, but I was like, no, this is not gonna like fill me. Like I need to, like do something. So like now, like in California, it's like pretty much like the pandemic is over. We'll see like how that goes in a couple of months. But like right now, it's like I want to like have fun this summer. Like I want to like, you know, go to restaurants and like go back to the beach and like go and pilot the Millennium Falcon again. Like, I want to elbow kids out of the way so I could get on rides.
That's like, we are definitely all too hard on ourselves, because that's just like to actually take a moment and stop and think that all of us have done this pitch wars thing and this intense part of you guys getting agents and looking to sub, and you've done that during a global pandemic, like an unprecedented time of pressure and stress. And like, to be honest, I've just noticed little things now, because we keep going in and out of lockdown when Australia likes to just snap lockdown and then we have 0 cases again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so you have to like kind of relearn to become carefree and do the things. Like I was just thinking yesterday, I was like, I could just jump on the tram and go into the city and go shopping myself in the middle of the day. I was like, I can't think of the last time I did that, even though I could. So I'm like trying to make little mental markers for these things, like go force yourself to sit and write in a cafe when it's not when it's safe, when it's not in lockdown mode. And it is just a bit of a relearning of that, I think, because, and you do have to give 1,000% to your writing as well. And sometimes between thinking about that and having all this COVID stuff that was happening, it is hard to remember to like reconnect with the things you can do.
Yeah, totally. And I read some advice or saw, or I don't know where it came from, but it was good advice when you're querying or on sub, is to find another hobby. I mean, for most of us, like writing was the hobby, but then it became the business. And so finding something else that makes you happy outside of the publishing world, like is key. And I've been trying to, like, Mel has like been playing her fucking guitar and shit and tie-dyeing and like, and I was just sitting there like, wow, like, and I was listening to it and I was jamming and I was just like, I'm not gonna play guitar, but I was just like, I need to find that thing too that brings me joy. And I'm just like, but it's only been like writing and books. That was the thing, but now it's got to be something else. And I'm having a hard time figuring out what it is. Dancing. I don't think I'll be knitting, maybe just dancing. I could probably just, I just wish my partner would dance, but like literally that would be a cold day in hell to give him a dance. I wish, but like, I wish, but I need to find the thing, and that brings you joy.
It's true. Like I asked Clarabelle and Kat Cho on their podcast, I'm like, if you could do like sub over the first time, like what would you do differently, or like any advice? And you know, like we often hear, I think like the big one is like, oh, work on like the next thing, you know. That's like the predominant advice. And Clarabelle was like really the first person that like told me, no, just like have fun and like rest, because it's like, if you make it, there's like deadlines are always going to be there. Like this is like really like, so just like enjoy this time and like refill the well. If you feel like writing, you know, and working on something else, go for it. But like also it's like really important to just, like live life. Because that, for me anyway, like that's one of the things I'm learning. Like I can't refill my well like Netflixing and like chilling. Like I need to do stuff, you know.
I feel like
I need to go like.
Sorry, go.
No. Go ahead.
I think you've both read Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. I think that's something she touches on in there that really struck me, that make sure that the life you're living already brings you satisfaction in the small ways. Don't be waiting for this big thing to bring you your satisfaction, because you could be waiting a long time. So even if it's like, I live in my little pokey tiny apartment, but like I wake up happy, filled with joy for my day, regardless of where I am in my process. And it's like an art form. Like you have to think about it. Happiness doesn't just come to you naturally. Do you know what I mean? And I think like kind of approaching it from that way has changed how I view this journey, just to be like, well, so long as I'm happy in my day to day and that's bringing me a level of joy and fulfillment, then it's kind of like takes the pressure of when it happens, rather than that this is your soul and until this happens, you can't. Like I'd be lying if I said I never have that feeling, but at the end of the day, I'm like happy with my life, if that makes sense. And I think that that's something, I really recommend every creative read Big Magic. I found it so healing. And
I need to reread it.
I feel like it's like,
need to read it again.
It's like Avatar, which I rewatch just to cleanse my soul and cleanse my mind. Obviously the anime I mean here, but Big Magic I think is the same. It's like something to reread and reflect on and just bring us peace on this journey. So I knew that three of us would be like chattering. We're gonna have you on again because if our file gets too much longer, gonna be mad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But maybe we'll finish up with what's next for you. Where are things now and where are they going?
So we're going on sub next month. Like life keeps on happening. So this is like this like control thing. You know, we were supposed to be going out on Monday, but it's like everything is getting pushed back, you know, until July, which is like fine. I was like sort of bummed at first because I like wanted I was like wanting the stress of sub to get my mind off of the stress of like actual life, you know, the things going on in my life right now. But so that's going like next month. So right now we are like, you know, like Jen, she's like doing like the sub list, but it's awesome. So I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, like I'm working on a picture book about my cat. And so it's like that I freaking love. And then my work in progress, my novel is totally different than Just Add Me. It's sort of like cli-fi, I guess. It's and there's like mutant sharks. So there's still a beach.
Okay.
But so it's completely different. And again, we're gonna talk again so we could get like more into it, because I'm like finally it's like so it's like with this idea, it's like now I finally know like what it's about. So there's like a romance thread in it too, but it's a very different than the one in Just Add Me. So I'm really excited about those. I want to finish the picture book by like the end of next month, and then start like critiquing that with some picture book people, and hopefully like I want to like have like a picture book series about like all of my cats. So
yes, I will buy that. 100%.
I'll buy that too.
Because they're like hairless and they're all like so weird. So I think it's like we could learn a lot about self-acceptance, you know, when you're like as ugly as my cats. Like one of them has like one eye. They're like weird. So oh my God, but really quickly too, Angela, like I have a confession. Okay. Like I've been like scared to like confess this to you, but like on one of your stories in the beginning, you said that one of your biggest fears was like intelligent animals. I have a macaw.
No, I cannot. Macaws are the worst. Seriously, they're so scary. Macaws, they scare the shit out of me.
They are.
No, my abuelita had a macaw, and every fucking time we'd go by the door, it would scream.
Yes.
And it would scare me. And you'd go, and we go, canta, Elliot, and he'd go, la da 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 da, and like I died.
And like their eyes get really small when they talk, like the pupils. So it's like really, really scary. So it's like, yeah, I haven't been able to like tell you because I was like, oh damn, like now it's like, like it was too late to tell you, but like now I'm like telling you, yeah. They're really scary.
What's her name?
Her name is Ruperta. So it's like I call her a rupe, but I just call her like cochina, which means like dirty one in like Spanish. So it's like, yeah, every time like anyone walks out like side, because she's like in my patio, she'll be like, hola, like, and then what's it called? She has like different voices. Like when she's like nice, she'll speak in English, and when she wants to be sassy, she'll speak in Spanish.
Oh my God. Well, that's cute at least. But yes, I probably won't be visiting your house anytime soon.
I don't mind,
but I love it for you.
Smart parrots are cool, but I kind of get what you mean with like monkeys freak me out, how smart they are.
I used to have a monkey.
I don't do that.
You have one?
No, you did not.
I had one. So that's like another story. Yeah, like I actually have a bald spot like in the back of my head, but since I have so much hair, you can't see it. So it's like, yeah, I used to have a capuchin. And yeah, no, it like.
Wait, why? Did he pull your hair?
He bit me, yeah, and so it got in. Okay, and so when you have curly hair, you can't like. And I thought I had like cleaned it and stuff, but like it, yeah. So he like bit me, and it like ended up getting like infected, and so it's like when I would wash it, it would like hurt, and I was like too afraid to see what it looked like. But it hurt so bad, like after a couple of days. So then it's like, I remember like telling my mom, like, hey, could you like check this?
No.
And so I went into the bathroom and I saw her face in the mirror, when she saw it. And she's like, we're going to the hospital like right now. And so, yeah, I had to be on antibiotics for a month, I think. Yeah, it was like really, it was bad. So it like scarred because like the infection got into like the second layer. So it's like I have like a bald spot like this big like here. So since it's like right on my head, I want to tattoo 666 on it since I'm such a horror fan, and like in the Omen, like so I need to do that because I think that would be like freaking awesome. To do that. But, yeah, no, so it's like we need to get on this again because like my second house growing up was a ranch in Riverside, and we had like ostriches, emu. We had like a bunch of emu.
You had an emu? Oh my god.
We had like 20, 30 emus. Yeah, like they're
so cool.
Awesome.
I was gonna buy fun fact, when I was a kid, me and my sister were gonna buy emu eggs. It was less hard to do. You needed just a license and off you go. And we wanted to ride them to school.
Hey, that's a story.
That's a story.
That is a story right there. That is a middle grade story
anymore.
Yes.
And I think we got too big. And you probably, I don't even know if I don't know how I got this idea. I think I saw it in like an Australian picture book. So
they're awesome.
I mean, I'm traumatized. I don't know. I feel traumatized right now.
Yeah. No,
in every way.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like, no, but yeah, you should be traumatized. I have like so many scars on my bodies from like my animals and stuff, and I need to like start combing through like a lot of those because there's like so many stories I think I could like,
I love this. This is the podcast content that I live for. So
I feel sweaty. I feel sweaty right now.
Well, I feel like, yes, we could talk for hours and hours. We're definitely going to have to have you on again soon. We barely touched the surface. So where can our viewers find you?
Right now I'm mostly on Instagram. So at Jessica Parra. I think that's what I don't even know. We could put it maybe like in the show notes. I need to be like better at that. But yeah, I'm like I'm going to try to be like more active on Instagram, especially now that like life is opened up in California again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you'll have to share all of your Disneyland adventures.
Yes,
sure.
Yes.
We can all just enjoy it from home.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, we are so happy that you could just take the time to chat with us about all things, minus the macaw and the monkey. And we are so grateful and thankful for you. And And I know like both Mel and I have had to get so much advice from you throughout this entire writing process, and you are a master. So we're definitely excited to just have you back again and again and again, and just keep learning from you because you are a boss.
Thank
So
you.
you can
Yes.
find Angela on Instagram. I mean, we all just basically live on Instagram, let's be honest, because that's the place to be. It's where all the cool writers are. So
Totally.
come and join us. So I'm at Melanie_Schubert_writer. I feel like I need to change that and come up with something shorter, but that's what we've got for now. And Angela.
Yep. And you can find me at Angela Montoya Writes on Instagram.
And we're also at Pub Persuasion on Instagram. So thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you'll continue to join us on this wild and turbulent journey through the publishing, this thing that we're all doing. So
yes,
that's it. It's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful. Beer time.
Beer time.